I've booked a lot of podcast guests, and you are by far one of the hardest people to get.
Been told that before.
By who? By who?
No one.
Nobody. This is your second career podcast.
I'm not wild.
It is wild.
The last time we did this, we were in the basement, which is now a functioning Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
And to think about, we had no idea we were going to make it an Airbnb. But yeah, just think of all the growth that and everybody that you've had on. It's wild to be the outside mouse looking in.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. I've had some cool people on.
Mm-hmm.
You're the best, though.
I would probably disagree, but
Why? You have so much to offer.
Yeah.
Is it going to take a couple of minutes for you to warm up?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
We'll work through it.
Okay, deal.
Okay. What would you like to speak upon? I'm good with whatever. I'll tell you, like I tell everybody else, I have no agenda, no notes, just ready to go.
Okay. There's a lot of different avenues that we could take it. There's a lot of different change that we're navigating constantly throughout our lives at this very moment. But I think the thing that is the most top of mind is constantly, or the power of constantly reinventing ourselves, what that looks like, and how it can be a catalyst in both personal growth and also relationship growth. I think we've done that a lot, and we're about to do it as parents. And so it'd be nice to have a conversation just with both of us.
Okay.
What that looks like.
Yeah, we've came a long way.
Yeah.
But we're not even close to where we want to go.
Yep.
I feel like as soon as people believe that they've made it, that's when they die.
Yeah.
And we've always done a pretty good job at what's next.
Yeah. And not being afraid to redirect.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is that if you're not constantly reinventing yourself, if you're not pruning who you are, your identity, if you're not refocusing and pretty much killing your old identity, you're going to be constantly running the same exact cycles, and eventually you're not going to know who you are because you're just going through the motions. And so there's something really powerful in like ripping your identity completely. Like I think I've told you in the past, I feel like before I even met you, I lived like 5 different versions of myself. And then like since we've been together, I've probably lived another 3 of just constantly reinventing yourself and what that looks like and not being afraid to walk away from everything to really start over.
Is that scary to you?
It always is in the moment for sure. But then you look back and you say the first time's always the hardest. So it's like done this before, did it before. I think there's a kind of anxiety when it comes to shedding those layers of when your identity is stopped. Like when I say an identity shift, like transitioning from a job or transitioning from a different state, like uprooting our lives when we came here to Montana. There's a lot of ways that you can reshift your identity. And so just always pruning, always strategizing to figure out, is this the version of me that the next version of me needs?
Have you thought about that for yourself?
I'm constantly going through it right now just because we're going to be parents. And it's crazy to think about what version of me needs to be, what version of you needs to be present for a new generation to come into us. But yeah, I don't even know what that looks like. Like it's crazy.
I don't think you're supposed to know what it looks like until you're there.
Yeah.
And even when you're there, I'm not sure that you recognize it right away.
No. Yeah, it'll be wild. But we're open to it.
What kind of parent do you want to be?
I think one that is comfortable always sticking to my core values, because if I'm able to do that without swaying, then I know the identity of the child when they're growing up, if they'll recognize what kind of core values that they need to have. And I think the quicker they can do that at the youngest age possible, the more that they're going to expand their character. I think that's something that's been top of mind for me, saying like, hey, what are my core values from the past that I want to take into this new season? And then what are new core values that I haven't even thought of yet that I need to put in place in order to develop?
You know what those are?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I'd say a core value that always runs through my veins is empathy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, always empathy. I mean, it's something that has gotten me through New York City corporate. It's something that's gotten me through really every single route in my life, and it'll always take place in that. Just allowing yourself to put yourself in someone else's shoes, and that's all that developing a child is, right? They have this unique soul path that we're supposed to like cater, and we're supposed to really help develop whatever they're supposed to do in life. We have no idea. And so I think a lot of empathy, that's definitely one that's rooted.
Where did your empathy come from? Because you are the most empathetic, that's a word, correct?
Empathetic, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Person that I know.
Yeah.
When I met you, I pretty much had no empathy.
Yeah.
Literally at all. Just cutthroat, fuck everybody.
Which is also one of the reasons why I was so drawn to you, because it was relaxing.
How?
It's hard to really explain. Like if you're, I don't say this out loud, but I guess I'm saying it out loud. Like I classify myself as an empath. And I think a lot of people that you've had on the podcast also resonate with that.
Big time.
Yeah. And so
my last 4 or 5 guests.
For sure.
Literally.
100%. Yeah. And so when you can always feel other people's emotions, when you can always feel, okay, this is what, if you don't know what an empath is, throughout childhood, instead of having your root chakra really, really grounded, you're forced to come up to like your third eye. I know this is going to like get really into the weeds, but you're actually forced to get up here and constantly be looking for other things about like movements or somebody's, unspoken cues. And so that's when you are, as a developing brain, as a child, having to do that, you just always pick up on these little cues. Like
you're referring to yourself as a kid?
Yeah. Yep. And so when I was with you, when we first got together, it was so refreshing because you were just you. Like who you, like it just was like, I never had to think, oh, what is he thinking or what is he looking at? Like it just was natural. And it was the first time that I think that I've been with somebody that I wasn't like, man, I wonder what, or like I just picked up on like his body language cue. Like maybe he's feeling like a little certain way. No, you just wear your heart on your sleeve and you say things how they are. And that, as an empath, is like so refreshing.
Really?
Yeah, it's so comforting.
Does that take stress off you then?
Yeah, it takes the guesswork off completely.
Because you're constantly diagnosing people. Or not necessarily diagnosing, but like dissecting and analyzing.
Dissecting, yes. Yeah. Analyzing, yes. But it also has allowed me, because we've been together for what, 6 years? 7?
A long time.
I don't even know.
Not really. That's not even that long. We've been married for 3 and some change.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But during that time, since I've been with somebody like you, it has allowed me to completely shut off. So it's actually healed a part where I'm typically like more hyperactive of picking up people. I can shut it off now. And so now it's a really good tactic and a tool that when I want to hone in and when I want to practice empathy, I can, but it doesn't rule my life. I think there's a big, there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Uh-huh. So it's been interesting, but it's been awesome. It's the greatest tactic you can ever have, I believe, through business, through just people skills. It's awesome.
Yeah. I see it weighs on you though.
It is, yeah, for sure. Yep. Mm-hmm. But I think anything that's soul driven sometimes can weigh on you if you're not careful.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Okay. So I ask everybody, not everybody, but always like, hey, you married, whatever. Yeah. They give me like 10 plus years. I'm like, yo, what's the secret to a successful marriage? What do you feel like that is? Is there a secret?
I honestly don't think there's a secret. There's no equation of, hey, this is going to work or it's not going to work. Like, communication, you constantly have to be in communication with each other.
That's A1.
A1.
Has to be.
If you're not good at communicating with your spouse, it's gonna fall apart. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Okay,
Like,
so how do you do that?
with you, tell you how I feel. If something's bothering me or if I need you to show up in a different way, communicate it. Even if that's messy or even if I show up wrong in doing it, like, at least I put it on the table. And I think you do a really good job of doing it too. Like, oh my gosh, you have grown when it comes to leading our conversations. Like, we just went on a walk and we talked about this, but I'm able to react so much better because you're leading the conversations better and you're starting those conversations better. And I think it just comes from a place of like, we do this poorly just as much as we do it well.
Yeah.
But like, having it's not you versus me. It's, hey, I'm coming to you with this is how I feel, or I'm coming to you with like, this is a problem that we need to solve together, and doing that. But communication is one for sure.
That's the biggest thing too, because if something's on your heart,
yeah,
you'll come to me.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't agree.
Yeah. Which is often.
Which is often or not often?
I'd say often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we talked about it a while back. It's like, you don't have to like it.
Yeah, you don't have to agree.
You don't have to agree.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing to learn.
But you're not just making the shit up.
No.
You're not just saying this to say it.
Yeah.
You're not just bitching to bitch.
Yeah.
Right? And
for sure.
When I started understanding that, and then when you started understanding that, our communication has drastically improved.
Way better.
Don't you think?
I think so. Yeah.
I do too.
I do. I really think so. I mean, communication, but just choosing each other when things are crazy, because things with you and I are always crazy.
We share things. We share things, but we don't share things. Like, we're very selective about what we put out there for people to hear.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like, especially some of my buddies, like Hewitt, for example, I think that him and Lisa probably just are like, what the hell are Morgan and Tyler up to
No,
next?
I think everyone's like that.
You think everybody's like that?
No. I think everyone thinks that. I think there are like some people who are genuinely concerned because because they're like, Morgan and Tyler, like, I feel like they're running on pure chaos and adrenaline, and like, but that's just how we operate.
That's how we do it.
We love to just have the next thing on the docket. We love to have 100 things that we somehow miraculously need to pull off in 30 days in order to make something happen.
30, more like 12.
Well, I mean, like, still, I'm giving us a little bit of grace. But yeah, it's just, I'm very thankful because can you imagine like you being fast paced and me being slow paced? Or
no, we wouldn't be together.
Vice versa. There's no, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, we wouldn't be together.
Yeah. I mean, think about even when we moved to Montana, we talked about it 60 days before we physically moved. Like, you were like, we could move to Montana. And in the back of my head, I was thinking, there is absolutely no way I'm moving to Montana. And then 12 days happened from that. And I'm like, okay, these signs are, they keep on coming. We sold our house. We bought a new house sight unseen. You had an interview here. You were working in Nashville. And somehow we took an interview. We like flew to Montana. We bought the house that we saw sight unseen. Everything worked perfectly. Like, if God's plan, I'll say this time and time again, if it's from God, it's going to move freely, and it's going to move fast. Mm-hmm. If you are feeling resistance in anything that you're doing, there's a reason why you're feeling resistance. It might just be, hey, now is not the time. Wait. But there's a reason. If it goes fast, you need to do it. You need to get your foot off the brakes, remove the fear, and just do it. Because yes, Montana moving here was wild, but can you imagine the versions that we've lived, myself included and yourself included, individuals, just in the 3 years that we've been here?
What about since we met each other? Do you remember when we met each other, we were going out every other night,
Oh, yeah.
getting bombed
Yeah.
every other night.
Like twice a week.
Yeah, going to work hungover.
Yes.
I missed an entire shift one time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a blast though. Like, I
Oh,
wouldn't trade that.
we had so much
We
fun.
tore up Nashville like insane,
Yeah,
like crazy.
we tore it down for sure.
But
we don't. We are two completely different versions of each other and a completely different couple.
Yeah.
But it's seasons. Life is a series of seasons, right?
Yeah, and you have to live all of them with 100% intensity.
You do.
Like that's the bread and butter of not always wishing, oh, I wish I was in this season. Oh, I wish I could relive that season. Like there are so many things that we learned during that season going hardcore. Like it was so fun. I'll never ever take it back. Nashville was so much fun. But there's just you have to live life at a level of intensity that you want to have the outcome of whatever you're doing to show up as. So like you're a give 110 type of person. I'm a give 110 type of person. And that benefits us because like when we have goals that are, combined and we're doing them together, we do show up for each other. We show up for that goal.
Okay. You know my audience.
Yeah.
We talked about communication, showing up for each other, but what does that look like? What advice can you give these guys who maybe got a girlfriend, who maybe are newly married, like, 3-4 years like us? Like, how do these guys feed into their wives or girlfriends? How do they show up for them? As a woman, what do you need?
I think what it comes down to, like, if you're dating someone, you need to shit or get off the pot. Like, you need to make sure that the person that you're with is somebody that you're going to sacrifice for not only their own dreams, but theirs. Like your significant other's dreams.
Gotcha.
So if you can't say that boldly, like, absolutely yes, like I want to thrive. I want this other person that I'm with to actually thrive in life, and I'm going to help them achieve their dreams. You need to get out of the relationship. So that's like number one, starting basics. Like if you're just dating somebody, but if you're married and have made that commitment, you just need to continue to show up, and you constantly need to be reinventing yourself of what that looks like as a husband, because who you are, like just doing like the bare minimum, or who you, okay, when we think about how we've evolved as a couple, like there was times when we were a shit show, like absolutely, oh my gosh, like screaming, yelling, like communication was absolutely terrible, but we learned how to get to the next version of us. And then again, we got comfortable there. We're like, hey, this feels nice. This is a lot better. Continue to be uncomfortable getting to the next version of you. And if you've been with the same person for like 5 years and you guys are still the same version of when you guys met, you need to have a heart-to-heart, sit down and reevaluate where y'all are going, because you just constantly have to be reevaluating. There's so much power in like reinventing yourself.
There is. Yeah, we've done that. I'm proud of us for that.
I do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think being vulnerable is a good characteristic to maybe shed light on the conversation in terms of, hey, I'm trying, maybe share something that you wouldn't necessarily share with your significant other that might help open up means of communication?
Yeah, you have to be
like
vulnerable.
Maybe what you're scared of, or what your hopes are for something, or
you have to know yourself. That comes with a level though of self-knowing. And I feel like a lot of people are afraid to have the conversations with themselves to say, hey, I'm going to be vulnerable with myself. You can't be vulnerable with somebody else unless at first you're vulnerable with yourself.
Yeah, well said.
And so I think that people are kind of a lot of times like running and navigating and just like running from what they're actually feeling. I mean, just this morning, like how we talked about it, Tyler did the 72-hour fast and he was feeling absolutely amazing. And day 3, he finally ate, he broke the fast, and then the next day his body kind of went berserk a little bit. Is it your body actually going berserk, or is it your nervous system bringing something up to the surface that's actually something that you need to process?
Yeah, we were driving home from the gym this morning, and I was like,
Yeah.
I am so anxiety-ridden right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because I had a full schedule today or what it was, and you're like, you should sit and think about that. I was like, nah, it's just my body trying to process this food, seeing that I haven't eaten in 3 days. You're like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you take a second and think about it and pray about it?
Yeah.
You're-
Everything's connected.
Yeah, that's what you're really, really good at.
Yeah.
In your mind, there is a reason for everything.
Yeah. I'm always curious.
Yes, you are.
That's like one of my core values.
You don't just be like, oh, that happened. Fuck it.
No.
Let her go.
No.
Cool. Keep going. Nah, you analyze everything.
And that's a part of something that you have to do. You have to stay curious within yourself in order to reinvent yourself constantly. Because if you don't, as soon as you're not curious, you're dead. You're stagnant. If you're not learning from every single situation that comes your way, if you're not saying, hey, how can I take this shitty situation that just happened to me? It is so unaligned. It is backwards. I attracted somebody in our lives that are like just negative. You know what I mean? Or it could be any scenario. If you're not trying to learn from that to say, okay, what are they trying to show me? What are they trying to teach me? What is this moment trying to, bring up or stir up? Then what's the point? Like, you're just living life just, I don't know. It feels kind of like empty to me.
Mm-hmm. You know that the interview I did with Jesse Phillips a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
He said God doesn't make mistakes.
No. Yeah.
And that has stuck with me every day since.
Yeah. That's so true.
And when you start putting that into play, that single statement, everything starts to make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Even though it might not make sense.
Yeah.
God doesn't make mistakes. Oh, that makes sense.
And he is always 20 steps ahead.
So what's the reasoning?
Right.
If God doesn't make mistakes,
right.
What's the real reasoning?
He's pruning you for something that he has set in your horizon 5 years from now. Think about that. Like, you are going through this scenario right now, thinking about, man, this is a hard, tough season. But in the actual reality, shaping you, shifting you, pruning you for who you're supposed to be in 5 years or 1 year or 2 years, It's really powerful if you sit and think about it. It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What else is on your mind? This is just as much your show as it is mine. Everybody wants to know why my content and my website and my Instagram looks sweet. It's because you are in charge of all of it. So this is just as much yours as it is mine.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think what things that could really benefit. One thing that I think I'm really passionate about is like
Western hunting.
Touche. I can try to spin it in. One thing that I'm really, I think it's like on the same topic is like the power of alchemizing situations. And then again, like I think we already brought it up, but to not just sit with something and like if a negative situation, like if you're going through a tough time or a tough season, there are so many tough seasons that we have navigated through and they are really tough.
How do you get through them?
The power of alchemy.
Which is?
Alchemizing the situation, not in like a delusional, like, oh, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. Like, no, it's actually sitting with and transmuting it into something positive. So like, there's something really powerful about, okay, you're sitting at a stoplight and the car next to you, you get in an accident. He hits you. You know what I mean? Instead of thinking, man, fuck, okay, I just got in a huge accident. I have to now repair my body. I have to go to the body shop. I am now 2 hours late for my meeting. It's like, okay, because you're 2 hours late to that meeting, what things was God stopping you from?
Mm.
What things were you actually saved and protected from?
Mm.
That, if you can shift your mindset to something that's an absolute shitty negative situation, and you can say, okay, this is supposed to show me XYZ. This is actually saving me for something way more detrimental. Then you're able to actually be like, okay, put it in the past. You don't reflect on the negative thing for 2 weeks because you got in a car accident. And then you're able to also attract more of the good things because you reshifted your focus. So like the book that we read, like you're always, whatever you're thinking about, you're constantly attracting. Whatever your focuses on, you're constantly bringing that into your own aura. So it's like,
How do you do all that? It sounds great on a podcast, but like, how do you do that? How does one start to think like that? How does one start to alchemize?
you have to recognize it as you're going through the negative thought.
Self-reflection, internal dialogue.
I think journaling a lot
Okay.
really helps.
Like daily or?
No, I don't practice it as much as what I should now. There was a part where I was working at Ramsey. I would journal 5 days a week, an hour. I would go to Union Commons in Nashville. I would sit and I would journal, have a glass of wine. I would journal, and be like, there's a tactic that says, there's a book that's called Conversations with God. And if you get past 3 pages in a journal prompt, the Holy Spirit starts to actually speak to you, speak through you. And so you can have conversations with God on paper. It's a really cool book, but that's a huge way to just get out of your own thoughts, get them on paper, and then see what comes up. And there's going to be it's called the 3-page rule. Once you get past those 3 pages, a lot of things start to come up. And this is not just a girly pop journal time. This is like, if guys do this, you will be able to lead yourself and your family so much more, because you're no longer just going through the motions and like having your subconscious deal with everything that you're dealing with. It's on paper and you have to reread it. And so now you're thinking about everything that came up the next day. And now you're able to navigate those situations with a clear head and thought process to say, hey, you know what? I just journaled about that last night. Like, I'm doing that because I'm either like self-sabotaging, or I'm doing that out of fear, or I'm doing this as like some kind of tactic. Like, that's how you get in line with your subconscious. And alchemy is a lot of your subconscious.
So I know that you're not an avid listener of the podcast, and that's okay because you hear me talk enough. But we do talk a lot, especially lately, about manifestation, positive energy, positive thoughts, positive words of affirmation, things of that nature. Yeah. And I get questions about it all the time, whether it's through, I know, you're getting excited.
Yeah.
Okay. I get questions all the time, whether it be from guys that work with me or just random people in the DMs trying to understand, like, yo, how do you think like this? How do you, have you always been like this? Like, can you explain that? The answer is no. I've learned all of this stuff via you.
Yeah.
All of it. Each and every bit of it. Explain to everybody what manifesting is.
Manifesting is not believing that you deserve. So like, say it's challenging.
It's okay.
Say that there's something that you want in this next version of you, whoever it is. You know that you want it. Your soul wants it. The reason why your soul wants it is because God either placed it on your heart, or the fact that a higher version of you, the next version of you, already has it. So like everything that's in your heart is soul connected. It's there for a purpose. It's not there by accident. So number one, fastest way to manifest something that you want to take happen in your life is to follow your heart. And after that, you cannot manifest anything unless you truly believe that you deserve whatever you're asking for. So, what things do you need to do on the daily in order for you to be that version that calls in that version? So, you want to make $1 million next year? What do you need to do? You need to wake up at 5 a.m. You need to cold plunge. You need to do the things and have the discipline that you need in order to fill that soul path. That's not everyone's soul path. I mean, that's a poor example.
No, I think it's a great example.
Well, so what do you need to do? What things do you need to do to actually be that next version of yourself? And that's how you manifest. It's not about, I want to manifest $100, a brand new Mercedes, a new poppy drink sitting to me and like handed to me by a chauffeur. Like, it's about, who do I need to be in order to call in all of my heart's desires?
So you can want whatever it is.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a game plan and you don't execute the game plan, you're not going to bring in anything.
You're not going to, without action, nothing. Yeah. You have to take action. And the fastest way to take aligned action is listening to your heart and your soul. And just be like, what does it want?
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm personally really good at like, yo, this is where I want to be.
Yes.
Or this is where I want to go.
Yes.
And I need to do X, Y, and Z in order to get there.
Yes. That's the masculine.
I'm very good at that.
Yes.
But I think a key thing that you missed with all of that is that you have to envision yourself doing X, Y, and Z and then having the $1 million or having somebody deliver the pop to you on a silver platter.
Yes. Yes.
You have to see that. You have to play that over and over and over. Think about yourself backing out of the driveway in that brand new Mercedes. Like, I do that shit all the time.
Yes.
Like with that antelope hunt.
I was just
like
thinking
I saw that 1,000,000 times play out in my head. And that's just one thing that I manifested. Yeah, like I knew that if I did X, Y, and Z, it was going to happen. Right?
Visualization is
But I saw myself
huge.
Like drawing back that arrow, going through the antelope tipping over, me celebrating in the field by myself.
Yeah.
I played it over 1,000,000 times in my head. So when it happened, I was like, oh, yeah, got it. This is exactly how I played it out.
Yep.
And that's the key thing. So picture yourself doing whatever it is that you want to do or being wherever you want to be, but you have to figure out a plan on how to get there, which is X, Y, and Z. And you have to execute on that every single day. But you also have to put yourself in the position that you're already there, that you already have that thing.
And write it down.
Yeah.
You cannot do any of this if it's just in your head. You have to write it down.
And you need to talk about it too.
Yeah. Accountability. It's
but
huge.
Be very careful with who you share it with.
Ooh, that is a wise piece of advice. You cannot tell, especially if it's a new idea or a new baby or a new anything that you have not solidified 100%. If it's shorter than 90 days, you don't tell anyone. No one, unless it's like your significant other.
Right.
Anyone who wants you to win as badly as you do, those are the people you share those new ideas with. Anyone else? Closed chest. Keep that down, because minds that don't understand your own vision sink ships. They will sink your motivation. They will sink your drive. They will sink because it's a brand new thing. You're already in your head thinking, well, is this going to work? You don't need anyone's outside perspective.
It's an energy thing too.
Energy thing, for sure.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about being selective with our time.
This is one that I struggle with constantly. You are much better at it than me. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to start or do you want me to start it?
You start. Yeah.
Okay. My phone is recording me on video right now. So I think I have 20 to 30 unread text.
Yeah. And that's not exaggerating.
250 plus missed calls.
Yeah.
Those unread texts are from people that I just can't give my time to right now. And that's not a personal thing. That's just a me thing. I have to be very selective with who gets some of my time.
Mhm.
You get all of it, then Nock Performance, my clients, my dad. Other than that, there's a really fine line.
Yeah.
And some of those people that are on red are probably going to listen to this. And it's not a personal thing. But I'm just on a path right now where there's so many people depending on me that I have to feed into them.
And you want to feed into them.
And I want to feed into them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if I ain't heard from you in 6+ months, like, you call me or text me, dude, I'm probably not going to answer. At least not right away.
Yeah.
And again, not a personal thing, but I just am trying to be so selective. I'm not trying to be. I'm doing a very good job.
Good job. Yeah. People will say they'll look at that and be like,
is that selfish?
That's exactly what I was just going to say. People will look at it like it's selfish, and it is the farthest thing from being selfish, because you have to protect your time and your energy in order to grow anything. In order to be and excel and be the top 1% of anything, you cannot, what's the saying? Easy to get a hold of, or easy to reach, but hard to get a hold of.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. You have to practice that, or you're not going to be able to build anything. Think of the 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes there. Then you just wasted 2 hours. And that's 2 hours that you are constantly thinking, how can I grow Nock? How can I build the business? What do I need to delegate? What things can I outsource? Who can I feed into extra? Who can I super serve? That is your mind constantly throughout the entire day. And so if you're wasting 2 hours just giving your 10 minutes to like people who, like you said, you haven't talked to in 6 months, it's really challenging, and you start to feel guilty. And that is a weight that you just do not want to carry.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
It's hilarious that we're on this topic because we were just signing those documents, right?
I know.
Did you see me on the... No. Did you see me on my phone dicking off for a minute?
Yeah.
When we had that downtime?
Yeah, actually I did.
I was scrolling IG, and Jesse Itzler made a post. And the post said, if you take 3 15-minute meetings a week, that is 39 hours per year. That is a whole week's worth. Or maybe it was 36. I'm not a math guy. It was either 36 or 39. That is almost a whole week's worth of work that you missed out on to feed into somebody else that matters.
And we're not even parents yet.
Oh.
Can you imagine? I just cannot. I have so much I can't believe how people with 3 or 5 kids. I just had coffee with a girl who I absolutely love. And she has 4 kids right now. And I'm like, you are doing amazing. How are you navigating all? I can't even imagine. We'll get there. But right now I can't even fathom it. So.
And what's really cool about that girl and her husband, they got 4 kids, and they are both in phenomenal shape.
Yes.
I trained this girl in person that you're talking about, and she's in better shape than me. Like fucking stud.
Solid.
And she's got 4 kids like under the age of 5
she's
or something.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But I don't have time.
Everyone has time.
Everybody has time.
Yeah.
Get your shit out of bed.
Yeah. It's a priority thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But let's talk about you, because this is something that you're working on. I'll test you sometimes. I'll be like, who you texting? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm texting.
I know.
Whoever. And I'm like,
I know. Are you sure you want to text them?
I was like, when was the last time? When was the last time you talked to them? It's been a while. And I'm like, are you sure you want to feed into this person right now?
I know.
Don't you think you should be feeding into yourself and our baby?
Yeah. See, there's a lot of girls who I communicate with who are on the pregnancy journey also. And pregnancy actually is a very lonely time. And not a lot of people talk about it at all. You have this, as a first-time mom, you have this, overarching thing of, everyone else's life is continuing to go, and they're continuing to progress when your pregnancy, during it, you don't really feel that well. So, you kind of feel like everyone else's life is shooting off, and you're taking a backseat, and you have to slow down and have a slow season. And so... but also there's like this guilt being like, well, I should be absolutely so floored because I'm carrying this baby, and like you should be so fulfilled. There's a lot that there's just a lot of kind of like that guilt. So I think it's a challenging time. So I do give my time to a few girls who I know who are pregnant at the moment. And I love it because if I know that I can help somebody navigate, my biggest thing is this: be the person that you didn't have when you were navigating that. You know what I mean? And so like that's like the constant, like I was also always the oldest growing up. So my biggest thing for my two younger sisters when I was growing up is like be the person that they didn't have, or that you didn't have when you were growing up. That's all aspects of life. So it doesn't matter how old you are. You can always coach someone. You can always like just be a shoulder just to listen if they need it. So I don't get paid for it, but
It has to it has to fill your cup.
Yeah, it has to fill your cup. If it doesn't fill your cup, it's just wasted time.
And if those conversations with other pregnant women fill your cup, then that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I didn't even tell you this. I meant to tell you last night. But I was down here yesterday, or I was going to take a piss, and I walked by. They have like those group meetings out there. I don't know if you've ever seen them. And Keith, he's like, "Hey, you got a second?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" He's like, "That guy over there, he's starting a personal training. Can I like set you up with him? Like, can you help him for a little bit?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, sure. Give me 10 minutes." I had to finish up a call really quick, and I went upstairs to meet this.
Younger?
No, he's older than me.
Love it.
But he drives truck, like cement trucks, and he wants to start like personal training, and he's trying to launch his business. And I mean, I had a full day yesterday, but for me to be able to take 30 minutes and mentor somebody who's trying to do what I'm doing filled my cup to the brim, because I have been that guy who was like, I'm working this job, I don't really want to work it anymore, I want to start this new venture, I don't know how the fuck to do it. And I mean, I put him on game. I straight up told him, I was like, all this game I'm giving you, dude, it cost me $7,000. Like, I took all these courses, this, that, and the third. He's like, I appreciate it so much. I was like, it's not about that, but if you do step 1, 2, and 3, then text me, and then I'll help you with the next steps. So it was really cool. Like, that filled my cup. It wasn't a financial gain. It wasn't a podcast guest. It wasn't good for my business, but it just filled my cup. 30, 40 minutes, whatever, however long we talked, it just filled my cup. And it made me happy that I could help somebody that is going for it.
If you become an expert at your craft and you're not bringing up other people alongside of you, there's no reason for you to be an expert at your craft.
What good is all the information if you're not going to share it?
Exactly.
I straight up told that dude, his name was Shamar. I was like, bro, there's enough cake for everybody. I was like, I want you to double what I'm doing. Like, go out there and kill it.
People at the top collaborate. It's not a competition.
Yes, they do.
And you have to have friends around you that get that.
Yeah. Same thing with Dan, right? Like when Dan invited me out to Idaho to like spend the day with him and stuff. There was really no gain for him by doing that.
It was just, salad.
But all these guys that listen know Dan Staten. Dan straight up told me, he's like, dude, I got no agenda. He's like, our goal today is to grow your brand. I was like, what? He's like, that's all we want to do. Is grow your brand. I was like, dude, why are you doing this? He's like, Cam did it for me. I want to do it for you. I'm like, what the fuck? Seriously?
Good people.
Me?
Good people know how to recognize and find good people.
And
I think there's a lot of that.
It's so humbling too when people do that. So when you're in a position where you can do that, i.e. the example I just gave you.
You got to give it back.
Oh my God. I would have talked to him for an hour. He was kind of wrapping it up. I'd have talked to him for a couple hours. I told him, I was like, yo, when I got a bunch of sales calls next week, like, come down and shadow me. I was like, have you ever sold anything? He's like, no. And I was like, come watch me.
Why not?
Why not?
What is it? Like, why not? If that's that person's sole purpose for that season of their life and you can help accelerate that, one, it makes you feel awesome. Like, if you're thinking about it from any selfishly perspective at all. Two, guarantee it's going to come back and like karma's a real thing. It's going to bless you tenfold because of it, you know? Like, bless somebody else. Yeah. And you do a good job of that.
You do a good job of that as well.
Thanks.
You do. That fills my cup.
That's good.
You know?
I'm going to turn the table. Who do you want to be as a dad?
What kind of dad do I want to be?
Yeah.
I want to be the father who is respected. I want my son to. Fuck, now I gotta edit this. Son of a bitch.
You don't have to. Everyone already knows he's a boy.
What? Should I keep it?
Yeah, I mean, everybody already knows. Like,
Fuck,
if
see,
you
that's what
zoom
happens.
in, I know.
Guys will be asking me on calls. They'll be like, I was like, yo, if you keep asking me questions, I've been known to slip up.
If you zoom in on the cake on Instagram, you can clearly tell there's a blue hue instead of a pink hue. So,
Am I keeping this?
Yeah, we're having a boy. It's out in the
Fuck,
open.
am I keeping this?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Maybe. I don't know
I've
if I'll
been telling random strangers at the gym. Someone just came
Really?
up.
Oh my gosh. Wow, this has been great. Yeah, let's not tell anybody.
I can't hold it in.
Okay. I want our child to respect their daddy.
Yeah.
And with respect comes respecting other people. I don't necessarily want my child to fear me, but I want him to know if he messes up, like there's going to be consequences. That's how I was raised. I never was afraid of my dad, but I knew if you mess up, you're going to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Not physically necessarily, but like there's a standard.
Mm-hmm.
There's a standard. There's a way that you talk to your mother. There's a way that you talk to your dad. There's a way that you talk to other parents.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way that you talk to your little buddies, right? Look how Bam and his wife raised their two girls.
Oh yeah, incredible.
I walked in, that girl was knee high to a grasshopper. She goes, "Hi, I'm Kennedy." Put her hand out to shake my hand. I was like, "What are you, 6?" Like, that is impressive.
Yeah.
That is a respect thing.
Yeah.
They were raised right.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the kind of dad that I want to be. I want to be that dad, and I want to be the mentor. I'm really good at mentoring people, especially young dudes that I coach.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a young child is completely different, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm very good with kids. If I can give our kid even remotely as good of a relationship that I had with my dad,
Mm-hmm.
that kid will be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that respect eventually turns into like a best friendship.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, that's what people don't understand. Like, yeah, my dad was tough on me, set the standard, but like him and I are homies.
Yeah.
So when he becomes a certain age, like, we're gonna be homies.
Mm-hmm. I think there's always a fine line. There's always a fine line, because when you have that relationship that is completely just like friend based, it's hard to actually guide. And I feel like that's sometimes our responsibility as parents, is to like guide them as efficiently as possible. So I agree. I think that having like that like friendship relationship is something that I want so bad too. And it's something that like
Way down the line, though.
yeah, I'm picturing, that's exactly what I was just picturing.
Yep.
Like the boy is 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. I want him to come to me for anything. And same thing with you. Like, I don't want him to be afraid to communicate or to share like, hey, I fucked up, or I messed up here. Like, because at the end of the day, if there is that, like, my parents, I had an incredible childhood. In my relationship with me and my dad, I know he was always extremely, extremely hard on me. I was the oldest, which I know, like, the oldest of 3 girls, they always say that the firstborn, doesn't matter if it's a girl or a boy, they kind of, the dads raise that firstborn as the head of the household. So you're kind of raised in the sense of like, you are a little bit more masculine figure to the family. And so I think that's actually a really good benefit. But at the same time, there were times when like I would be navigating something that I wish that I could have gotten their advice on, that necessarily I couldn't tell them because I was too afraid to tell them. And so I want that line of communication to be like, hey, yeah, you fucked up, buddy. But at the same time, like, this is how you navigate it. This is how you do those things. I don't know, one thing that my parents did really well is that any problems that they had was all open on the table. So like if it was a business problem, if it was a relationship problem, if it was a sports problem, like we all talked about it as a family. So much so that like my dad brought on and my mom brought on all of our problems as their own. which was really kind of nice to have that like support, knowing that like whatever I was going through, they were also going through. So that's something that I kind of like too. But there's also a fine line in that too, also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think those are all really good things to shoot for. Mm-hmm.
I was going to talk about what you wanted, how you want things to go this next year. But honestly, I don't want to even talk about it because it's not smart to manifest anything new on public terms.
Well, I had somebody reach out. I was doing like a Q&A on IG or whatever. They're like, "What are your 2025 goals?" And it's
Yeah.
like, I'll tell you what. It doesn't matter what my goals are.
Yeah.
It doesn't. As long as I keep feeding into other people,
Yeah.
I'll hit every goal.
Yep.
I made a post about it the other day.
Yep.
This shit ain't about me. It's not about you. Yep. It's not about us. It's about the client. It's about the guest. It's about the business partner. It's about the relationship. If you feed into other people, you're going to get where you want to go without even realizing that you're getting there.
That's that servant-based leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can I serve others? How can I super serve others today?
And I didn't even really I didn't read that in a book. I was like, wow, this is really working. Mm-hmm. I was like, the more that I just focus on everybody else and their goals, the better I do. Yeah. I was like, wow, this is really working. All I have to do is just be a good coach, be a good leader, mm-hmm. and then everything comes back to me tenfold. Yeah. That's all I have to do. Yep. And that can be with my business, that can be with your business, that can be with hers or his business. Doesn't matter what you're doing. As long as you put the client or the coworker, whoever it is, first, you're going to win. Mm-hmm. It's really that simple.
And that's you practicing a lot of empathy too. And just
I don't know any of that without you.
Well, it was still like the fact that you're picking up and recognizing it, like you've been recognizing it for years now. And so,
but I haven't necessarily been putting it into practice.
It's hard. It's hard to, there's a processing process, it takes a while to process something. Mm-hmm. But the quicker you do it, it's just practice. Yeah. Continue to do it. You'll get better and faster. And yeah, it's just practice like anything.
What are you afraid of?
Ugh. I'm actually afraid of a lot, to be honest. I act like I'm not.
You can't say like sharks.
No. I am afraid. My biggest fear right now is taking a step back from my career. And because there was a time where I could not picture myself as a mom because I was so cooped up with work and focusing on my career path and like building things that route that you were like, hey, let's start a family. And I'm like, Tyler, I just got done presenting to the exec board. My nervous system is completely fried and I can't even think about like what I want for dinner and like how to like heal my nervous system. I cannot even feel like safe enough to have a child. There's no way. So now that I've gotten past that was pretty quick. Like we got through that pretty quick. But it still scares me that I'm taking a step back from my career because I've worked so hard at it that it's like such a fast-paced industry. I'm not letting fear like take me out of the game, but I am fearful that like, okay, the next 25-year-old is going to like take my spot, or it's just corporate world is insane. Mm-hmm. But there's another part of me that's like, okay, for this next version, are you even supposed to work corporate? Are you even supposed to work for, I'm definitely not working for another New York company, that's for sure. Yeah. But like, are you even supposed to be in the office? Like, God hasn't really solidified that vision yet. And so I'm constantly pruning and constantly trying to figure out where this next version is going to take me. So I need to not be fearful, but it is a fear of mine for sure.
You afraid to fail?
Yeah, I'm afraid to let it all go finally. You know what I mean? Because it's such a big part of you. And like, I think that comes down to like why identity shifting and like why like creating new versions of yourself is so important, because if you're constantly holding on to a past version of you because you liked her, or that you thought that she was a badass, or that like you're never gonna fall into the next version of you. But there was a part of me who like absolutely loves corporate Morgan and just like the experience that I've built and the niche that I have. So it's, yeah, I'm really good at what I do.
I was just literally going to say that. You're really good at what you do.
I know.
But you're good at anything that you choose to do.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just, yeah. But it is something I'm very fearful for.
Yeah. I used to tell you, I was like, whatever you want to do, I'll support you.
Yeah.
You can go sell daddy dogs on Broadway.
That's what you told me.
And I'll buy 2 of them every Saturday night and support you.
Oh my gosh, I would kill for a daddy dog.
Yeah, dog. Me too.
Ugh. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm trying to think what else I'm fearful for in this moment. It's nice to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
That's why we're doing this.
I know. What I'm really fearful for is showing up. Like, childhood wounds are a very, very real thing.
Why don't you dive on into that? Because everybody has them. Everybody has them.
Yeah.
They just don't even really know what they mean, maybe what they are, but they get exposed daily. But they don't recognize it.
I know. You're
like there's multiple things that you do and how you react to certain situations based on childhood things that happened to you.
Oh my gosh. And if you're not actively working on them, like,
Me too.
Yeah.
Not just you. Me too.
Yeah. Like, constantly, like, childhood wounds are just experiences that you went through as a child that ended up shifting what you thought was possible for your reality. So, that could be like trauma related. That could be like just like growing up in a household where money was really scarce. And so you then as an adult come and you have this like scarcity mindset when it comes to money. Like, you're like constantly saying like, I don't have enough. Well, it's because that was rooted in childhood. That's what you know. So there's this like huge study that was done where kids cannot excel past what their parents show them is possible. Like, when their brain is developing, they cannot believe that anything else is possible other than their reality of what is set in with what their parents are telling them. So whatever we're telling that our kid in year 3, year 5, year 6, that's going to be the basics, unless they go through and rewire, which, I mean, some people don't do until they're 20, 30 years old. So that's the biggest thing. It's like shifting your mindset of like, just because I experienced this as a child does not mean that that is the end all be all, and you can't completely shift your reality of what's possible. So it's just little things about, those are just, they're not even like childhood wounds. They're almost like childhood programming. That's how I would say. And if you don't work on them, your subconscious rules your entire world.
They'll get exposed.
Mm-hmm. They're going to get exposed, and they're going to get exposed in like ways as an adult that are so much worse than being a child. Like, they're going to show up in, oh, you treated someone poorly in a meeting because you were fearful that they were better than you. Like, my boss did that all the time to me, so I'm using his example, like my previous. It's going to rule your world. But it's really hard to recognize, like, again, those patterns. It comes to like journaling. It comes to like self-reflecting. Like, if you don't like how you handled a situation, the best thing you can do to get around and to never do it again is to write down what happened. And then to literally pick it apart frame by frame and being like, okay, I showed up like this because I had anxiety about this, or I was I had a mental block about this, or I was programmed like this when I was younger. You know, it's like there's just a lot to it. It's hard to,
There is.
yeah.
There'll be more women listeners to this podcast, obviously, than
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
So, what advice do you have for girlfriends or wives in terms of feeding into their boyfriends or their husbands? Because you're amazing.
Thanks.
Like, I couldn't do anything that I do without your support.
Same.
No, it ain't about me. It's about you. I'm giving you kudos.
Thanks.
You're just super supportive. I come up with some crazy fucking ideas, man, and some outlandish shit that you're like, Tyler, what the fuck? And then we talk about it, and you're like, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
I got you. Go for it. What advice do you have for women to help support their significant others? Because maybe these guys can relay that to their significant others and be like, hey, like, I need a little bit of this.
I think it's really hard for women because we tend to be very unselfish when it comes to like putting others first. I just think of like the motherly like figure who constantly puts everybody else. And I don't know. I think that if you there needs to be a balance. There needs to be a balance of, okay, what was the question again? Sorry.
Pregnancy brain.
Cut that out.
No, I'm not cutting that
You don't
out.
even have to. You told me to look up at your eyes and it threw me off.
Okay. How?
What can I give? What piece of advice can I give to wives?
Yes.
You just be supportive. I don't know. I don't even know how to even explain it. Like, you gotta want your significant other or your husband to win more than they want themselves to win. And you have to be with the person that you're like, if it all fails, we'll sleep under a bridge and we'll be fine. Like, you have to have that amount of tenacity to be like, you're in this relationship and you're in this marriage, you're in this like soul contract. If you aren't fully ready to jump with them, then I would suggest that maybe you're not with the right person. And like, thank God that we're with each other, because I feel like that's something that we just navigate really well on. Like, we just want each other to win. There's nothing else to it.
You know what I think really works is challenging each other.
Yeah, true.
Not just going for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like diving into it. If I come to you with a certain idea, you're like, okay, why do you think that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, fuck. Well, why do I think that? How are you going to get there? Fuck, how am I going to get there?
Yeah.
How are you going to make that happen? Shit, how am I going to make that happen?
Mm-hmm. Are you sure you want that to happen?
Right.
Yeah.
What does it look like if it goes south? Right. We don't think like that.
Yeah.
That's a loser's mentality. That's a poor person's mentality, and we don't have that.
It's a scarcity mindset.
It's a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
Correct. We don't think like that, but we're like, oh shoot, like, what if I don't get this?
Yeah.
How do I prevent it from going south?
It's practice.
Practice.
Yeah. Like, there were times, like, think when the time that we were going to go to Nashville, the time that
I've never told this story. You want to tell it?
You've never told it?
I've never told this story.
Not even on Bam's podcast?
I didn't even tell it on Bam's podcast. No.
It's like such a pivotal moment because
that changed. This moment that want to talk about it?
Yeah.
This moment that we're about to talk about literally changed the trajectory of our lives.
Oh, we had flights booked to Nashville. We had plans set with every single person that we loved in Nashville to go and hang out with them and to feed into them and for us to be fed into. We were going to go get dinner with all of our friends. We were going to stay with one of our really good friends in Nashville. Like, we were just going to have the time of our lives for like 4 or 5 days. And really, what was going on in the back scenes was that we were using it as an escape in order to be like, let's just have one last hoorah before things start to get real fucking crazy. Like, Everything in our life was literally falling apart. Every single thing. And when we talk about, hey, have a good mindset, have a good, like, all these things, like manifestation, like, it's hard when you're going through something that rough. But we were also navigating so much life change that there's no way that anyone would not feel that. Like, I quit my job. Within 3 months later, you quit your job. We were literally jobless, like, had no idea what we were going to do. I'm going to get emotional.
It's okay. Our flight left in 3 hours.
Yeah.
It was supposed to leave in 3 hours, and we live right down the road from the airport. And I literally had, I mean, our bags are packed, son, like at the front door. Like, take them out to the car, Tyler.
Packed. We had a dog sitter.
Ready to go.
Everything. Yeah.
And I had maybe like my biggest breakdown of all time. I'm talking sobbing on the couch. I was like, Morgan, we should not do this. We can't go. You're like, no, like, we need to go. Tyler, we need to go.
Like, Tyler, we are going.
I was like,
going.
I was like, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't give a fuck how much money we have invested into this trip.
Yeah.
Like, if we go, we are going to come right back to this shit sandwich of a situation that we're in.
Yeah.
And nothing is going to change.
Yeah.
I'd rather eat the money for the trip and save the money that we're going to spend while we're there.
Yeah.
Because we're fixing to run out of it. Right? Like, you were done working. I was trying to launch a business, done working. Like, we had nothing.
Yeah.
We had everything, but we had nothing.
Yep.
Like, completely empty inside. I am coping using things that I shouldn't have been using at the time. Like, just lost. Completely lost.
It was a dark, dark, dark place. Like, there's no if
we
and
were
buts
falling. We were falling apart.
Oh my gosh, we were falling apart. Our relationship was falling apart. Every single thing. And it's just not because, like, of who you and I are. It's because certain things you can only handle so much. Like, we could go, we are the root of, like, all chaos when it comes to, like, we thrive that way. But when you take a hit and you take another hit and you take another hit and you take another hit and you're like, man, I just keep taking hits. It's hard. It's hard to navigate that. And it's hard to not be like, well, my husband should be pulling us up, or like I should be pulling us up, or like family members should be pulling us up. Like, it's hard to not kind of play the blame game as you're going through it, but you got to get through it. You got to get through it. And at the same time, I never thought that I would say this. I never thought that I would come on the other side and be like, I was so thankful that happened.
What we did is that we just came to an agreement.
Yeah.
We sat on the couch, cried for an hour.
Yeah.
Watched our fucking plane take off from our couch. Texted all the people that we needed to text. We just hit them with a straight, like, yo,
we're going through something.
We're going through something. We can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, our planes are booked. Like, flights are booked.
Yeah.
Rooms are, like, fucking, we're ready to go. But, like, we literally, spur of the moment, realized that this is not best for Morgan and I and our marriage.
Yeah.
And everything else. And we canned the entire trip within 10 minutes.
Yeah. And it was the best decision that we ever made. And when I talk about
Morgan, ever since then, our life has completely changed off of one decision. Yeah. Think about that.
And the book.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if we would have went on that vacation, it would have been none of that. I don't think we
wouldn't be having this conversation.
No. So those are just the hard decisions that you have to make as a couple that sometimes really suck, that, like, you have to make them. That's what being an adult is about. And, like, we're going to have so many more of those hard decisions as parents. Like, can you imagine? I can't. But yeah, it was a hard time. But still, again, I never thought that I would look back and be like, I am so glad that it happened, because we would not be pregnant. We would not be pregnant. You would not have Nock. you would still be at the police department. And I mean, that was right after you, I think, said goodbye to the police department. But like, still, yeah, you just got to do the hard things. You got to make the hard decisions, even if you let other people down in the process, because we let a lot of people down. Like, they were really, really excited to see us, and we felt so guilty. But at the same time, we didn't, though. I know. We had to make that decision.
We didn't.
Yeah.
Because if you're married and you start putting other people, like, their feelings in front of, like, your own marriage and your spouse's feelings, shame on you.
Yeah. It's got to be a unit. Your relationship and your marriage has to be a unit. And if you cannot, there's one thing that, like, you can't talk about what's going on with friends outside. Like, you can't talk shit about your wife. You can't talk shit about your husband to other people.
I've been around fucking dudes who used to do that.
I have too. Yeah.
I've been around multiple fucking dudes.
Yeah.
Some of them, all of them have been on this podcast before as guests.
Yeah.
And they are no longer a part of my life.
Yeah.
You start talking shit about your old lady in front of me, dog, there ain't no spot for you here in my circle.
No.
What kind of man does that?
No, because that trickles. That's like
if it's a funny joke, I'm all for it. I joke about you all the time.
Yeah.
Right? But you know that. That's not me digging you.
Exactly. There's not anything that you want to say to my face.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the fun of relationships.
Correct.
But yeah. Agreed.
What else you got? You're killing this. You're natural.
I get nervous at first.
No, you did great. You're doing great.
Honestly, I think that's it.
Okay.
Unless there's anything that you want to cover or you think it would be valuable, but I mean, I can, like, it's crazy. I always think, I'm like, who could learn anything from, like, our lives? But then you think about it, and it's like
thousands of people listen to this, Morgan.
I know. Well, I know, but there's a lot. There's a lot of tidbits that, like, I think we'd have had a lot of experience, but we have nowhere near what we need to have in the next few years. Like, I think about the versions of us in 3 years, and like, yeah. And
that's something that gets. Unfortunately, I'm on social media all the time because I have to be.
Yeah.
I told that dude that I was mentoring yesterday, I was like, bro, if I didn't have to have this, and I showed him my phone, I was like, I'd throw this bitch in the street. But I have to have it for work. But on social media, people, they're so caught up in believing everything that they see.
I know.
They don't see what kind of conversations you and I are going to have after we turn these microphones off. They don't see what we talk about during dinner. They don't see all the hours that I put into this business. Yeah. They don't see what it's like being in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, feeling like crap. They just see the end result. I know. And sometimes people are like, "Oh man, they got it all figured out," and like everybody thinks that Grenda just lives the dream life. Yeah. Oh, you live in Alaska and you got a plane and you got a wife, and it's like
they're awesome.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
But they go through things just like everybody else.
Does. You cannot romanticize someone else's relationship thinking that they have it better than you, because that's your biggest downfall.
It's their biggest downfall.
Yeah.
And we'll be the first to say it, that we do not have it all figured out.
No.
We're just like anybody else trying to figure it out and do the best that we can.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty above average, if I'm being honest.
But we work hard at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We work hard at being married. Yeah. Just because we wear rings doesn't mean fuck all.
Yeah, I barely wear my ring.
You should. Paid a pretty penny for that prick.
Right now.
Yeah, you are. It's blanging. But it's not like, oh, you're married, like, yeah, you got it all figured out. No, you don't. Yeah. It takes work. It takes work. And I'm very proud of us. And I know that a lot of people especially these young guys that listen to the show, will take a lot of stuff from this conversation and hopefully apply it to their life. That's the only reason I do this podcast. The moment I stop helping people, the moment I stop having fun with it is the moment I'm done with it. You know?
Yeah.
We have these hard conversations all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Only thing that I also want to add is that because you're Christian or because you have a religious faith does not mean that you can't use the laws of manifestation. And like a lot of times there's like this like black and white, but there's a real spiritual side, and like God is the creator of the universe and everything is derived from him. And so those things can overlap. There's a lot of like people that I've come into contact with, and mostly, I mean, we're in a new age now where like people are more open to it, but there's been a lot of people who have been like, if you're a Christian, you cannot say the word manifestation. And that's so not true. Like, do not put yourself in a box for anything. Your relationships, your goals, your businesses, like, do not put yourself in a box for anything. You can be a million different things, and you can have a million different things resonate. And if it's good with your soul and it's good with your relationship with God, then that's all that matters. Like, intention is everything. So have that, weave that through whatever aspect that you're currently working through.
Well said.
Thanks.
Is there anything in your life that you feel like you should be doing better, or maybe that you're putting off for whatever reason?
Yeah, birth prep.
Birth prep?
Literally. Yeah, I just need to do it. It's creeping up. That's what I'm putting off, to be honest.
Okay.
Birth prep and hypnobirthing and stuff like that. But other things that I'm putting off,
Taking the trash out? Is that my job?
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I think just being organized, that's really hard for me. But mostly like tactical things that I need to work on to be a better wife and to make sure that.
No, you're the best wife.
Oh, thanks. But no, the house should be cleaner.
It's okay. I don't expect you to be doing a whole lot right now. You're growing a child. If you're good, I'm good.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah.
Any last words?
No, that's it.
You killed it.
Have a good week. Have a good Valentine's Day. Have a good Expo weekend.
Yeah, this is going to come out right after Expo weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. No, I think that's it. I'm good.
You're going to be a great mom.
Thank you. You're going to be an awesome dad. I cannot wait to see you be a dad. Like, cannot wait. It's going to be my favorite version of you that has ever existed. And it's going to be so cool to watch.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're the best.
You're the best. Love you.
Love you.